Thank you for listening to my journey. And remember, sometimes the most meaningful family bonds are not the ones we are born into, but the ones we consciously create through courage, boundaries, and mutual respect. Before I tell you how I rebuilt my life after this betrayal, let me know where you are watching from in the comments. Hit that like and subscribe button if you have ever had to start over after someone pulled the rug out from under you. I grew up in a small town in rural Pennsylvania where everyone knew your business before you did. My father, William, worked as a bank manager at the local branch, and my mother, Diana, taught English at the high school. The difference now is that I address these issues directly rather than burying the hurt, and my family listens when I speak. I have learned that standing up for yourself does not mean burning bridges. Sometimes it means building stronger ones with proper foundations. The boundaries I established were not walls to keep my family out, but guidelines for how to come closer in healthier ways. The most surprising discovery has been my capacity for forgiveness. I built a $4 million business from nothing but sweat and sleepless nights. For 8 years, I poured everything into that company, while my sister Amanda pursued her perfect family life. My father was my hero growing up. That changed the night he announced he was giving 70% ownership to my sister. His reason? She had 3 kids to support, and apparently that trumped the fact that I created every aspect of that business myself. I knew right then I had to walk away. Amanda would roll her eyes at my ventures, calling them Ellis and his little schemes whenever she had friends over. You should focus on your studies like your sister, my father would say, comparing my solid B average to Amanda's perfect academic record. High school was where our paths truly diverged. Amanda became valedictorian and earned a scholarship to Cornell, while I maintained average grades but excelled at spotting opportunities. I remember the way his eyes lit up when she showed him her perfect report cards or debate team trophies. With me, there was always a sense of measured approval at best. I discovered my entrepreneurial spirit early. At 10 years old, I set up a baseball card trading business in our neighborhood, buying low and selling high to other kids. By 14, I was fixing computers for neighbors at $20 per repair when the nearest tech shop was 30 miles away. During those 4 years, I worked 3 jobs simultaneously: morning shifts at a coffee shop, evening work at the campus IT department, and weekend gigs doing website design for local businesses. Every spare dollar went into my savings for what I knew would be my real education starting my own company. When graduation came, Amanda had already landed a prestigious marketing position at a Fortune 500 company. I started a lawn care service that employed 3 of my friends during summer breaks. The money I made went straight into my business fund. College is your one shot at success. Dad lectured when I suggested taking a year off to expand my lawn business. Look at Amanda. That is how you secure your future. I compromised by attending State University while Amanda flourished at her Ivy League school. At our joint graduation dinner, my father spent 20 minutes toasting her accomplishments before briefly acknowledging my business degree with a perfunctory glass raise. "What firm are you interviewing with?" he asked me over dessert, assuming I would follow the traditional path. "None," I replied. "I am starting my own business." The silence at the table was deafening. Amanda smirked into her chocolate cake. My mother offered a supportive but worried smile. My concept was specialized software for local construction companies to manage their projects more efficiently than the clunky, expensive systems dominating the market. I knew the industry had a specific pain point because my college roommate's father owned a construction company and constantly complained about it. After 3 weeks of sleeping on an air mattress and coding 18 hours daily, my father knocked on the basement door. My concept was specialized software for local construction companies to manage their projects more efficiently than the clunky, expensive systems dominating the market. I knew the industry had a specific pain point because my college roommate's father owned a construction company and constantly complained about it. After 3 weeks of sleeping on an air mattress and coding 18 hours daily, my father knocked on the basement door. At our joint graduation dinner, my father spent 20 minutes toasting her accomplishments before briefly acknowledging my business degree with a perfunctory glass raise. "What firm are you interviewing with?" he asked me over dessert, assuming I would follow the traditional path. "None," I replied. "I am starting my own business." The silence at the table was deafening. Amanda smirked into her chocolate cake. My mother offered a supportive but worried smile. The terms were harsh, but I was desperate. We signed a contract he had professionally drafted, which I would later discover contained clauses giving him far more control than I realized. While my father remained skeptical, my mother would sneak down with homemade meals and encouragement when he was at work. "I believe in you," she would whisper, as though afraid to be caught supporting my dream too openly. I secured a tiny office space above a convenience store for minimal rent. That night, lying in my childhood bedroom surrounded by boxes ready for my new journey, I made a promise to myself that someday my father would look at me the way he looked at Amanda. Little did I know how that desire would shape the next 8 years of my life. I started my business in my parents' basement with just my computer determination and $7,500 in savings. The owner, a gruff man named Henry, watched my presentation with arms crossed. "It is not perfect," he said afterward, "but it is better than what we have. How soon can we implement it?" That first client paid $6,000 for what was essentially a beta version. I used that money to improve the software based on their feedback, then landed 2 more clients through relentless door knocking. I explained that the investment was necessary to scale, but he seemed more concerned about ownership dilution than growth potential. Against his advice, I secured the funding, using it to hire specialized developers and a small sales team. My personal life took a backseat to the business. While friends from college were getting married and buying homes, I was working 14-hour days and reinvesting nearly every dollar of profit back into the company. The air conditioning was non-existent, and in summer I would code shirtless with fans blowing from every angle. For 6 months, I slept on the office floor to save on apartment costs, showering at the gym next door. Cold calling potential clients became my daily routine. I faced rejection after rejection, but I refined my pitch each time. On my 47th call, a small construction company agreed to let me demonstrate my prototype. He was a brilliant programmer who believed in the vision when no one else did. We moved to a proper office in a rundown building in the industrial part of town. It was not glamorous, but it was legitimate. While I was building my business brick by digital brick, Amanda was climbing the corporate ladder and announcing her first pregnancy. My breakthrough came 18 months in when I developed a proprietary solution to schedule construction workers across multiple job sites while accounting for their specific skills and certifications. This feature caught the attention of a regional builder with 12 active projects who signed a $30,000 annual contract. With that validation, I hired my first employee, Derek, who became my right-hand man. At the family dinner celebrating her news, my father raised a toast to the next generation, while I quietly calculated how the new client contract would cover our expanded server costs. "And how is your little company doing?" Amanda asked with the condescending tone that had followed me since childhood. "We just signed our 10th client," I replied. "Revenue has tripled in the past 6 months." "That is nice," she said already, turning to show my mother ultrasound pictures. Our core software evolved to include modules for equipment tracking, compliance management, and financial projections specifically tailored for builders. When a major investor expressed interest in providing capital for growth, my father surprisingly objected. "Outside money means outside control," he warned during a rare visit to my office. "Keep it in the family." I left that dinner early and went back to the office, channeling my frustration into work. That night, I laid the groundwork for the feature that would eventually become our competitive edge in the market. The next 3 years were a blur of expansion challenges and breakthroughs. As my client base grew beyond the local market, I expanded our product line to serve broader needs within the construction industry. The few dates I went on inevitably ended when women realized they would always come second to my growing enterprise. Our team expanded to 30 people, necessitating a move to a proper office building downtown. The day we moved in, I took a moment alone before everyone arrived, standing in the empty space that represented so much sacrifice and determination. When we hit the $1 million annual revenue mark, I closed the office early and took everyone out for a celebration. That night, for the first time, I felt true pride in what we had built together. The next day, I was back at my desk before sunrise, planning our path to 2 million. At a family dinner that weekend, my father finally expressed something resembling genuine pride. "Ellis tells me his company hit $1 million in revenue," he announced to my mother and Amanda, who was now pregnant with her second child. "That is wonderful, honey," my mother said, squeezing my hand under the table. I explained that the investment was necessary to scale, but he seemed more concerned about ownership dilution than growth potential. Against his advice, I secured the funding, using it to hire specialized developers and a small sales team. My personal life took a backseat to the business. While friends from college were getting married and buying homes, I was working 14-hour days and reinvesting nearly every dollar of profit back into the company. I framed the article and hung it in our reception area, not out of vanity, but as motivation for the team. Inside my desk drawer, I kept a second copy that I sometimes looked at during difficult moments. As Amanda reduced her work hours to care for her growing family, I found myself working even harder. There was an unspoken competition that perhaps existed only in my mind, but it drove me nonetheless. While she built her family, I built my company. Different paths, but both required dedication and sacrifice. By the 6-year mark, we had established partnerships with industry leaders that validated our business model. Our innovative approaches to construction management had begun to reshape how medium-sized builders operated. Our company culture became known for its blend of technical excellence and practical problem-solving. I framed the article and hung it in our reception area, not out of vanity, but as motivation for the team. Inside my desk drawer, I kept a second copy that I sometimes looked at during difficult moments. As Amanda reduced her work hours to care for her growing family, I found myself working even harder. There was an unspoken competition that perhaps existed only in my mind, but it drove me nonetheless. While she built her family, I built my company. Amanda had her second child and reduced her work hours further, though she maintained her title and most of her salary through what she called strategic family planning discussions with her bosses. My father began talking more about legacy planning and the importance of preserving family wealth. When an independent assessment valued my company at $4 million, I allowed myself a moment of satisfaction. 8 years of relentless work had created something substantial from nothing. I began exploring international expansion opportunities, sensing we had only scratched the surface of our potential. During a routine Sunday call, my father suggested a special family dinner to discuss the future. His tone was unusually enthusiastic, and for once I felt it might be directed at me. After years of seeking his approval, I dared to hope that my success had finally earned his respect. "I have some exciting news to share as well," he added before hanging up. For the first time in years, I felt genuine optimism about a family gathering. Little did I know it would be the dinner that changed everything. My father reserved a private room at the most expensive restaurant in town for this special dinner. I arrived early dressed in a new suit bought specifically for the occasion. The table was set with crystal and fine china, suggesting the importance of whatever announcement was coming. My parents arrived next, followed by Amanda and Thomas. Amanda was visibly pregnant again, though she had not mentioned it during our infrequent interactions over the past months. Surprise, she announced, patting her stomach. "We are having our third." My father beamed with the familiar pride I had seen my entire life. a toast he declared once champagne and sparkling water had been poured, to family legacy and future generations. We clinked glasses, and I noticed my father exchanging knowing glances with Amanda and Thomas. My mother seemed unusually interested in rearranging her silverware, avoiding eye contact with anyone. After appetizers, my father cleared his throat. "I have been thinking deeply about our family future," he began, "about creating something that lasts beyond us." I sat up straighter, assuming he was leading into acknowledgement of what I had built, which is why he continued, "I have decided to restructure the ownership of Ellis's company." My fork froze midway to my mouth. "Restructure?" "Yes," my father said, with authoritative finality. "As the primary investor, I am exercising my option to redistribute ownership shares. Amanda will receive 70% controlling interest." The words hit me like physical blows. What? That is absurd. Amanda has never been involved in the business. "She has 3 children to think about," my father replied, as if that explained everything. "Their future needs to be secured." Amanda reached into her designer handbag and pulled out a folder. "I have some fresh ideas to bring a marketing perspective to the company," she said, as if she had rehearsed this moment. "My experience at Jensen Corp gives me unique insights." Thomas leaned forward. "We have been discussing some operational changes that could streamline things." The room seemed to tilt around me. "I built this company from nothing," I said, my voice unnaturally calm, considering the earthquake happening inside me. 8 years of my life, 18-hour days sleeping on office floors. "And we appreciate that groundwork," Amanda replied, with professional detachment that made my blood boil. "But every company reaches a phase where professional management becomes necessary." "Professional management," I echoed. "I grew this business to $4 million in valuation." "What exactly are you bringing to the table, besides having children?" My father's expression hardened. "That is enough, Ellis. This decision is final. The legal documents have been prepared." He pulled out an envelope and slid it across the table. I stood up, unable to remain seated a moment longer. "I need some air." Outside in the parking lot, I gulped oxygen like a drowning man. My phone buzzed with a text from my mother. "I am sorry." I tried to talk him out of it. Later that night, my father called. "This is a legally binding decision, Ellis," he said without preamble. "The original investment agreement gave me this option. You should have read the fine print." After hanging up, I spent hours reviewing the original contracts with growing horror. There it was in legal language. I had been too naive to scrutinize years ago. My father retained the right to reassign ownership with majority board approval, a board that consisted of him, my mother, who always deferred to him and me. Sleep evaded me as the full impact settled in. 8 years of my life, countless sacrifices, and the business I had built from nothing was being handed to my sister because she had fulfilled the traditional family role while I had created something from scratch. The betrayal cut deeper than I could have imagined. Not just my father's decision, but the realization that this had been planned for some time. Amanda's prepared presentation, Thomas's ready comments, the legal documents already drawn up. They had plotted this while I had been working myself to exhaustion, growing the very business they now claimed. By morning, as sunlight filtered through blinds I had not bothered to close, I knew with complete clarity what I had to do. The company had been taken from me, but no one could take my knowledge, experience, or determination. I would walk away. Not in defeat, but to rebuild on my own terms without the weight of seeking approval from those who would never truly give it. I called Derek, the one person I trusted implicitly. "I need to meet you before you go to the office," I said. "Everything has changed." The fallout was swift and messy. I consulted with Michael, an attorney who specialized in business disputes, but the original agreement I had signed was unfortunately ironclad. My father had ensured that his investment gave him far more control than the relatively small sum should have warranted. "You have 2 options," Michael advised. "Fight a lengthy legal battle you will likely lose, or negotiate the best exit package you can. I chose the latter, preserving what energy and resources I had for rebuilding rather than fighting a rigged battle. In the negotiation meeting with my family, I maintained composure while inside I seethed. I want fair compensation for the business I built, I stated. My father offered a minimal settlement with a strict 5-year non-compete clause that would have essentially ended my career in my chosen field. The negotiations were tense, with Amanda and Thomas presenting a united front with my father, while my mother sat silently in the corner. In the end, I accepted a smaller settlement than I deserved, in exchange for fewer restrictions on my future endeavors. The agreement allowed me to work in adjacent markets, which would prove crucial in what came next. My final day at the company was surreal. 8 years of my life packed into 3 cardboard boxes. Employees watched in confusion as Amanda introduced herself as the new majority owner. Derek and my core team looked shell-shocked. I addressed the team one last time, focusing on my pride in what we had built together rather than the circumstances of my departure. As I finished speaking, the youngest programmer started applauding, and soon the entire staff was giving me a standing ovation. Amanda's face flushed with annoyance at this unplanned display of loyalty. As I carried my boxes to the elevator, my father appeared, pulling me aside. "I can offer you a compromise position," he said, lowering his voice. "Chief Technology Officer," reporting to Amanda. I looked at him, really looked at him, perhaps for the first time seeing him clearly. Not as the father whose approval I had sought my entire life, but as a man whose values fundamentally differed from mine. "No, thank you," I replied, stepping into the elevator with dignity intact, if little else. The following weeks were dark. I moved to a smaller apartment to conserve funds and found myself questioning every decision that had led me to this point. Had my desire to prove myself to my father driven me to build something just so it could be taken away? I avoided industry events and former colleagues out of a misplaced sense of shame. My identity had been so wrapped up in the company that without it I felt unmoored. Dr. Winters, a therapist I finally started seeing, helped me process the layers of betrayal and grief. "You are mourning not just the business, but the family relationship you always hoped for," she observed during one particularly difficult session. The turning point came unexpectedly. Professor Jackson, my college mentor, reached out after hearing rumors of my departure. Over coffee, he offered perspective I desperately needed. "The business was the vehicle, not the destination," he said. "Your skills built it once. They can build something else." Around the same time, Derek invited me to lunch. After checking for listening devices in a way that would have seemed paranoid weeks earlier, he shared that the company was floundering under Amanda and Thomas's leadership. "They do not understand the technology or the clients," he reported. 3 major customers have already expressed concerns about the new direction. I received a voicemail from Amanda that evening. "Ellis, we are having some issues with the core system architecture. Call me back. It is urgent." I deleted it without responding. My father attempted an awkward reconciliation, stopping by my apartment unannounced. "Amanda is struggling more than expected with the transition," he admitted without actually apologizing. "Perhaps you could consult occasionally." "I am afraid that is not possible," I replied, closing the door gently but firmly. That night, reviewing market trends, I identified a significant gap that Amanda's leadership would never see. Construction safety compliance, adjacent to my previous market but technically outside my non-compete restrictions, was badly in need of technological innovation. I sketched the first plans for my new venture on a yellow legal pad, a sense of purpose returning for the first time since the betrayal dinner. Professor Jackson became my first investor, contributing $50,000 in seed funding. "I always regretted not investing in your first company," he said. "I will not make that mistake twice." I found a tiny office in an industrial area with concrete floors and exposed pipes, reminiscent of where I started years before, but this time with experience guiding me. My first hire was a brilliant safety engineer who had been overlooked at a competing firm. We worked day and night, developing a platform that would revolutionize how construction companies managed safety protocols, compliance, and incident reporting. Then came the moment that confirmed I was on the right path. Derek resigned from my former company to join me. "They are running it into the ground," he reported. "Besides, I want to work for someone who values innovation over nepotism." We cold-called potential clients, just as I had done years before. The difference was that now I had industry credibility despite my sister's efforts to undermine me. Our first major client signed after a compelling demonstration of our safety compliance system. "This solves problems. We did not even know how to articulate," the safety director said, signing a contract worth twice what I had hoped. We built a team culture focused on contribution rather than title or family connections. Every employee received equity, ensuring they benefited directly from our shared success. At an industry event, I finally felt confident attending. I met Sarah, an environmental engineer, who was more impressed by my resilience than my business acumen. Our connection was immediate and genuine, built on mutual respect rather than surface attractions. Just 14 months after walking away, our company reached a $2 million valuation, halfway to my previous company's peak. The family approval I sought for so long mattered far less than the respect of people who valued me for my actual contributions. Looking back, I can almost feel grateful for that painful dinner that forced me to walk away. It freed me from seeking external validation and pushed me to build something even better, not just a more successful company, but a life aligned with my true values. My father was hospitalized with stress-related heart issues shortly after the article appeared, despite everything I visited him. In the sterile hospital room, monitors beeping steadily, he looked smaller somehow. "I made a mistake," he admitted, tears in his eyes for the first time in my memory. "I thought I was securing the family future." "You were," I replied, "just not in the way you imagined." We did not achieve full reconciliation. Some betrayals cut too deep, but we established a new understanding. I maintained firm boundaries while offering limited forgiveness. The final validation came when my former company filed for restructuring as its value dropped below $1 million. Amanda called, proposing a partnership between our companies. "We could be stronger together," she suggested, desperation evident in her voice. That opportunity existed once I replied, "It does not anymore." Today, my new company is valued at $6 million, surpassing my original success. We recently received a significant investment offer with no controlling strings attached, a lesson I learned the hard way. The journey from betrayal to rebuilding taught me that true success is not measured by someone else's validation, but by creating something authentic to your values. Our first major client signed after a compelling demonstration of our safety compliance system. "This solves problems. We did not even know how to articulate," the safety director said, signing a contract worth twice what I had hoped. We built a team culture focused on contribution rather than title or family connections. Every employee received equity, ensuring they benefited directly from our shared success. Have you ever had to walk away from something you built or loved because someone betrayed your trust? Share your story in the comments below. If this resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life stories about overcoming challenges and finding success on your own terms. Remember, sometimes the best thing you can do is walk away and rebuild something even better. Thank you for listening to my story, and whatever challenges you are facing right now, know that your next chapter might be the best one yet.